Hey everybody, welcome to a new tutorial. Today we're going to have a look at how to create a fully procedural Christmas tree, and it's going to consist of a couple of different steps. First off, we're going to create the twig itself, and after that we're going to combine that into a Christmas tree, and lastly we're going to add all the other decorations. So first thing we need to do when we open Blender is go to our preferences, and inside of add-ons, fill in object, and enable this plugin. And we're also going to need the node wrangler add-on. These are both going to be important, so it's good to have them enabled already. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is to create a curve. And we're going to use a Bezier curve. This is going to be our first twig. And I'm going to try to keep it around 1.5 of these boxes, which are like 1 meter 80, something around that, because we're gonna want to keep it to a real world scale. And yeah, this is mainly gonna be a straight spline with a bit of curvature downwards. So it's gonna curve downwards like a real Christmas tree does. Okay, and once we have that, go to the geometry node editor and create a new network. Alright, so first thing we're going to do after that is create a curve to points. We can set the radius of the points so we get a bit of a better representation. Point radius, that's better. Alright, and after that we're going to make an instance to points. Just looking at my example real quick. Okay, we're gonna need some more curves. These are gonna be the little twigs attached to the bigger twig. So yeah, just create a couple of variations. So one could look like this. Let's call this little twigs. And these twigs. I'm just gonna make a copy and make some adjustments. Make sure the pivot point is always at 0. This will be useful later. And it should also be at the start of the curve. So this one needs to get a bit closer. For now we're just gonna have 4 different variations. That should be enough. Okay. Now we can put these aside for now, because we're gonna continue on our main twig. Okay, so we're gonna do instance 2 points. Sorry, instance on points. You can press Control Delete to delete a node without disconnecting. And we're gonna import our collection with collection info. And we're gonna pick our little twigs collection and enable these two boxes. And this one. What's happening now is each variation over here is randomly picked on each point that we made here. So we can increase and decrease these points. Right. Next up is to create a random value. And this should be a vector, because we're going to plug it into the rotation. And we're quickly going to check which axis we're going to need. Yeah, we're going to want to use this one, because our twig is going to face in this direction. So we're going to want to set the same min and max value and just use minus on one of them so that they're the same. Can delete this node again. Right. Let's join the geometry, because now we have these curves generated on our base curve, but we lost our base curve. So what we can do is just merge our original curve again, and there we go. After this, we're gonna create another instance 2 points. And scatter. We're gonna scatter a grid on top of it. It's gonna be 2 meters by 0.005 meters. So we have a bit of strands like this. Sort of needles, I mean. And as you can see, the count is not enough yet. So let's work on that. You can place a curve 2 points in between and set this to a length, because we're gonna want to scatter based on equal distance between each needle. And we can set this value to 0.0. And again, we're gonna need a random value vector in the rotation. And we can set this to 360. All right, so that's our basic twig for now. what we're gonna do now is clone it, which we can do with Control D. We're gonna clone it 4 times. And we're gonna adjust our original spline. Make a couple of variations based on our original mesh. Just gonna set these back here again. So one is a bit longer. Don't go too crazy on this because my original tree had quite some variation in the twigs and it started to look very messy, like a bad tree basically. So alright, and as you can see, they're still connected to the same geometry node network with the way we cloned it with duplicate. And this is going to be useful later on when we want to adjust our curve to point length. So basically distance between each needle and things like this. Yeah, in the end of the whole setup, we could make these unique and adjust it even further, but for now, let's keep it like this. Alright, so next up we're gonna work on our actual tree. Let me grab my example. Okay. Gonna make another collection. Call it tree. And create any mesh. And also just put these aside for now. And create a new geometry node network. And we can throw away the group input. We won't need that one. And we can create a curve line. And let's see. We're going to set this to 3.4. And we're going to leave this one at 0. After that, we're going to add a curve to points. We can leave this on count for now, because this is going to be the amount of twigs. We're going to create an instance on points. Get our points, and we're also going to get our collection, which is going to be our twigs. Where's our group output? We can create a new one. Okay, that's a lot for now. Let's keep this a bit lower for preview purposes. 5, okay. So they're facing the right direction. Let's already create our base trunk as well. So create another curve to points. instance. Hopefully we can copy this one from our previous node network. And we can make another join. And this can be a way higher value. And it's gonna need another random value. In the rotation. Vector. There. And let's copy this and paste it here as well. And in this case, we're only gonna want it on the z-axis. Yeah, just do something like this, 6.5. Okay, so we could use some more twigs. And let's lower the density for now. So we keep our scene very snappy. Okay. Well, as you can see, this would be a really bad Christmas tree because, yeah, it doesn't have this famous shape which all the Christmas trees have. And for that, we just need to use a basic math function. Which is the following. I'm going to start with a position node. Yeah, basically the position is going to go into the scale. And if we do create a vector math, let's create a vector math. Actually, we can use a normal math as well. Bear with me here while I recreate the existing network. And just try to follow along. Basically what we're doing is we are taking the point position and using it for the scale of the twig. So basically the higher our tree is, the smaller the scale of the twig should be. All right, let's see if it works. So this should work. Okay, so you can transform this down to the size of your tree, which in my case is 3.4 meters. See if everything else is correct. Yeah. And we can create another transform and move it back up 3.4 meters again. Okay. Yeah, and here we can play around with the shape. So let's increase this number. All right. So there we have our basic tree, and as we can see, it's facing the wrong way, our branches. So let's fix that. They're coming in over here, and we can simply add a transform. Yeah, this one. And you can play around with different settings over here. Something like this looks good. All right, so that's our basic Christmas tree coming along. So let's take a quick break and I'll get back to part 2, in which we're going to decorate the tree. Alright, so let's quickly create a little lighting setup so that we can see what we're working on. I'm going to go to rendering, change this to cycles, and we're going to enable denoise. Let's create a plane. This can be a lot brighter. 500. And let's create a little room like this. Okay, there we have our basic Christmas tree. And next up, let's create a material for it. So go to the material slot and create a new material. And we're going to make it slightly translucent. And we're going to use a mix shader. And I got this hex value from my other project. Feel free to copy it. And as you can see, our tree is still white, and that is because they are instances. And I think if I do this, no, we still don't get our material. That's okay. We wouldn't want to do that anyway, because as soon as we use realize instances, the computer is going to use a lot more calculation. So we want to keep those instances as much as possible. So we can use a set material, which is material 1. Let's quickly name it needles. There we go. So far, that's a little sad tree, because it's going to need a lot more needles in it, which we can adjust over here. Let's see. Point 0.01 could be a good value, and after that we still have our trunk, which we have set over here, I believe. Over here. So let's do 4,000. Seems a little heavy. 1,500. We can do that in the end. Okay, there we go. Basic Christmas tree. Let's create a quick material for our background. And the example scene just had a red background. For me, it's kind of a Christmas color, so I like it, and it works well with the color of the tree as well. Okay. Next up, we could start with our decorations. Again, we're going to create a plane. Could be anything. Delete this. And add an object info. Pick our tree. I believe that's... well, we need to work on our naming. Right. What is this? Ah, the background. For this tree. Drag this one out as well. First, we're going to create some balls in our tree. Okay, so we're going to pick our tree, set it to relative, even though currently it's at the 0 position. Maybe eventually you're going to want to reposition it and then the node tree is already set up for that. So again, let's lower our settings so we have a quick preview. In this case, we need to realize our instances so we can create new points on the geometry. Let's see, distribute points on faces. So there we have points, and create a sphere. Another instance on points. It's 0, 5. And we could randomize it slightly. And we need to set shade smooth. Set material, which we still need to create. And we're gonna randomize the color with object info, which is gonna go into a color ramp. And we're gonna set this random value and plug it into color. Let's assign our material, and we need to change this to constant. Then you can basically create any color you like and set the distribution. For example, we have these two colors, and you would like more of one type, then you just drag this one over. There we go. Gonna go with this color. And just a sort of white color as well. Make it fully specular without any roughness. And metalness, oh, wrong material. Pull up the metallic. Hey. Okay. Okay, so those are Christmas balls. And as you can see, some of them are colliding, which we can easily fix. Go back into the node editor and set this to Poisson disk. And over here you can set a minimum distance from each other, so that will fix that. And in this case, create a normal copy. So yeah, not a copy of the exact network. Oh, actually. I think what we can do is create another decoration, basically. Can make a duplicate. Let's just make sure everything goes well and just copy the whole network. So create another geometry node network. Paste it. And all we need to do is create a star. And replace that. And there's a node called fill curve. And we can simply transform this. Because we're lazy. With 0.8. And a random rotation. Vector. Okay. One thing is each ball is now currently scattered on the exact same spot, so we need to change the seed. And in that case, it's just gonna change the position. Yeah. Reduce the amount a bit. Gonna scale this down even further. Let's see, 0.5. Yeah. All right. The last thing we're gonna do is create the Christmas lights. And I'm just gonna copy my the geometry from my old setup and just quickly recreate it. So let's move it over here. Okay, so basically we got this light, which has a same type of material we created earlier, except this time it's going into the emission slot, and the emission is set to 5. Base color is black. And what's happening now is we will get different colors of lights. Alright, so let's quickly recreate this network, because it's not so complicated. So we're gonna create a curve spiral, and I just picked this top one. I'm not sure if the other ones are better or worse, but yeah, this one worked for me. So it's gonna decrease in size, and yeah, you're basically gonna cover the whole tree. Until there's a good distribution which you like. Oh, the other way. Okay. Let's quickly go out of render mode so it's easier to see. Okay, so there we have our spiral. Let's just show this in another group so we don't get confused. Example. Let's create a plane. New GeoNode network. We import our spiral with the object info. Curve to points. Instance on points. And let's import our light. Let's make it relative. Oh, right, picked the wrong spiral. Let's throw this out so we really don't get mixed up. We only need to keep our light. Let's call this lights. Interesting, why they are scattered over here. What am I missing here? Right, okay. This one needs to be in original because it's not in the absolute 0 position. So now we can just move this around and it won't affect the light. Okay, so we're going to create a curve to mesh. Create a curve circle. And join them together here in the end. And this is going to be 0, 0, 2. It's going to be very small. Let's create some materials. One is going to be the wire. Actually, we just need one material. We already have the other one. Set material. Wire. Okay, and what we can do then is adjust our spiral a little bit because it's, yeah, pretty perfect and that's not very nice in my opinion. So just, yeah, mess it up a little bit so that it looks a bit more natural. And we're going to resample this curve anyway, so don't worry about equal spacing between the lights. Okay, so there we have our curve. Actually, this already happens over here. That's okay. So here we can pick the amount of lights. And let's randomize their rotation. Okay. There we go. Starting to look pretty good. Let's preview with a higher amount of needles again. I believe it was 0.1. Yeah. And what I did in my render is move this backwards. Yeah, make it a bit bigger. Rotate it. The lighting is just a personal preference, so make it as you like. Let's lower the strength and lower the spread as well. 70, for example. This can go way lower. Alright, so that's it for the tutorial. After you're done, just tweak the values to your liking. Add the amount of twigs which you like. Tweak the amount of needles. And adjust the lighting. Those are the main factors to adjust the look. And something I forgot to mention in the tutorial, which is quite important, is the following, is to make sure that on the collection info that you're using to scatter your twigs, to enable pick instance, because if you don't do that, you will just get a single one of these, so that would be a waste. Alright, this scene will be available for Patreon subscribers, and thanks for watching and happy holidays.